This is Marketing Management Money. I am Ryan Murray, and I am here with my co-host, Ryan Owens, the one, the only, the fabulous. We are going to talk today about your relationships.
Cue awkward 70s music.
Right. That's what I was waiting for.
I know. Hold on. I'll get something here.
Yeah, pull something up. Hey, if you caught the episode last time, the last episode that we did on branding, toward the end of that episode, I gave this little story about my brother, how he got rejected 7 times in a row before he finally got someone to say yes to him at the senior prom, and he ended up marrying that girl. They have 4 beautiful children, and it's kind of that cute happily ever after. But it got me thinking about relationships and the impact that relationships are going to have on your business. Because whether you like it or not, a huge success factor is your relationships.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there's every type of relationship under the sun out there. And some people are making them work. Some people are making a flop out of them.
For sure.
And we're going to talk about that.
So I've shared this story on our podcast before, but I'm gonna reiterate it because I feel like it really drives this point home.
Okay.
So both my wife and I are ultimately entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel like that about myself, but yet somehow I find myself constantly in the entrepreneurship realm.
Right.
So anyway, we don't get a lot of time together because she's often, with her clients or building her business or building herself or whatever. And then I'm flopping around in this space trying to make something work. Right.
I'm picturing this fish on dry ground.
Exactly. So we don't get a lot of time together because entrepreneurship it takes a lot, right?
Yes.
So anyway, we're on our way down to see a local comedian for a date night that we rarely get, right?
Uh-huh.
So as we're driving down, we're talking about this exact thing. Like, how in the world do people who are in a relationship and are both entrepreneurs, how do they make it work? Like, how do they find time to spend with one another? Because oftentimes I feel like I go and I talk to my spouse and it's like I'm talking to this person that it's like I'm catching up with, right? An old friend that I'm like, oh, hey, what have you been doing? How the crap are you? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's my wife. I'm supposed to be in touch with her and, involved in her life and supporting her. And so how in the world do you do all those things, right? We're having this conversation and we ended up meeting another couple at this event, and they actually host it's a support group for spouses of entrepreneurs that they actually ended up doing.
Instead of AA, it's EA.
Yeah, basically, right? Okay. No, it would be Spouses of Entrepreneurs Anonymous. Anonymous Spouses of Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, okay.
ASE. So, but they ended up moving kind of into this realm of supporting or of a support group for couples or people who are involved in a relationship and we're both entrepreneurs, and how do they, like, tips and tricks, things that work, things that don't work. And it's like this support group for all things entrepreneurship and relationships. And I thought that was such a cool thing because I feel like it's so needed. It's like, this is going to be a huge tangent, but I swear on my life it applies. It's like when you have kids. It's like, nobody told me how to do this. There isn't a manual. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just winging it and hoping it works, right? Hoping they don't turn out like little dirt bags. I had to filter through 3 different phrases before I landed on that one. I was like, yeah, it's appropriate for the show. Yeah, I have kids. They are dirtbags. I don't know what I'm doing.
And none of us do.
Right. And so you find yourself in this relationship, especially in a relationship. I mean, nobody knows what to do in relationships anyway. We're just winging it.
Right.
Any psychologist, whatever, they're like, yeah, do this. How many times have you been divorced, man?
Think of that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the same thing. So you come in this support group, and it's like, hey, we're gonna wing this, but we're gonna wing it together. We're gonna try to figure this thing out together.
And honestly, entrepreneurship for a lot of relationships is too much.
Oh yeah.
Like if you were expecting that at some point in the show we were going to be like, okay, let me tell you how to make it work. No.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about some real issues that are out there, some things that we've seen, and maybe that'll click something in your mind. And I hope you can pull it together. But I was thinking when you're talking about just like marriage counselors, I'm like, I would hate to be a marriage counselor, because then unless my marriage was just perfect,
golden,
yeah. Do you guys fight? No, we've never had a fight, right, dear? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not believable. What was that episode about? Branding and trust.
Right. So, one thing that is a guarantee: entrepreneurship will put added stress in your relationship.
Oh yeah.
Guaranteed.
For sure.
And so that's the first thing that I want to talk about. Man, when I was doing business consulting and I'd have people come in, it blew my mind how many people would come in and they're just like, I just lost my job. I'm going through a divorce and I want to start a business.
Yeah. Now's not the time. Don't.
I have one bit of advice for you, and that is don't.
Yeah.
Get your life in order first, because anything that is stressful in your life is now under a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and it's easy to, I just picture our listeners being like, well, yeah, but I know this guy. And it's easy to see that like shining star of, for example, so Simon Sinek, he's had multiple books on.
Yeah, he's an author. He's
finding yourself, and he's the author of the book Start With Why and Leaders Eat Last.
Presenter. Yeah,
phenomenally intelligent dude, right?
Just a great presenter, author, guru. We're gonna call him a guru, right?
And the way that he landed in the spot that, I'm gonna paraphrase here, but the way that he ended up landing in the spot that he's in is he was really, really frustrated in his career and everything he was doing. And he kind of hit this all-time low in his life and was like, I'm not doing my job. I don't want to do that crap anymore. Mm-hmm. And he was looking at like, what do I want to do? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that's how he came up with the concepts of, that you see and Start With Why. And that's what sparked all this research and investigation into why do we do the things we do in business and as employees and as small business owners and things like that, and so that really gave rise to his whole career and everything that he flourishes in now. But that's like 1 in a billion, right? For the average Joe that's like just got divorced and lost his job and whatever else, just crashed his car. I don't know, all the bad things. It's not the time.
Right. Well, and so that's one thing that I really want to stress is to all of our listeners, regardless of what stage of entrepreneurship you're at. If you're considering jumping in, if you're right in that startup phase, if you've been doing this for 35 years, look at the stress that it's going to put on your marriage, the stress it's going to put on your family, your kids,
on your finances,
Yeah. It's not an easy ride.
Yeah.
And so
what resources do you have available to allocate toward this thing?
Mm-hmm. I kind of half envy those people who jump into, entrepreneurship before they get into a serious relationship. And I'm like, how would that be to be able to just like focus on the business and not have to juggle all of these, relationship balls up in the air? And, and so
it's like the guy that he lands this super high paying job before he's married and has kids, or in a relationship and has kids and all these added expenses of life. And he's like rocking this brand new car and huge house and whatever, because he can afford those things, because he's not paying for Little League and freaking uniforms and diapers and baby food and
child
piano
care
lessons and daycare. Oh my gosh. Am I resentful? Maybe.
But yeah, as you introduce relationships into your life and you try and introduce business into your life. See, here's the other thing is, entrepreneurs need to be risk takers, but
that flies in the face of
family,
stable family life.
Yeah. And here's the other one. Okay. So there's still this stereotype that the guy's the entrepreneur and the woman stays home and she takes care of the kids and takes care of the family. Well, what happens when you have a super successful woman who runs a very successful business?
Yeah,
and what does that do for the family life, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I know several couples that make that relationship work really well, where the woman is actually the one who is running the business and running a very successful business. Female entrepreneurship is on the rise relative to male entrepreneurship. And so we're going to see that trend continue. And, and so it's this thing of, okay, the more you add into your life, the more you're having to juggle and try and figure out, and then what does it do to the growth of your business? Because a lot of times when you're trying to grow a business, it's demanding. It's demanding on your time. It's demanding on your energy. It's demanding on, where your focus is going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's tough. And I've seen, this one kind of breaks my heart. I disagree with this one, but I've seen, the adult children of successful entrepreneurs who they're worthless to society. They never were given they got all of the monetary support, but they never got any emotional or intellectual psychological support. And so they grew up into big bodies, but they're still these little kids because
they're completely stunted by the lack of parenting that was available.
And so I've seen that. I'm just like, dude, if you're gonna bring children into the world, you need to take care of those children. They didn't ask you to bring them here; you brought them here, so you need to take care of them
for sure.
And so I don't know. I'm kind of going off a little bit, but there is a lot to consider about what is it going to do on your relationship. Now, I want to talk about this for a second.
Sure.
And that is where you're making it work as an entrepreneur. You've got the support of a spouse, but it's clearly stressful. Do you keep pushing? Do you just keep saying, I know a lot of spouses that they stuck with their entrepreneur for decades, constantly playing second fiddle, and their life was dedicated to just picking up the slack because that person was always building the business.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm asking the question, is that a good way to go about it? There are people out there that like it. There are people that are just like, I don't want the limelight. I like being in the background and, I'm perfectly content. This is a great lifestyle for me. And there are other people who are extremely resentful over that. They just feel like, their chance was cheated and they never got to do what they wanted to do because it was always about the business. We're always trying to do the business. And I'm not here to say that one way is right and one way is wrong. And
well, for sure, because every relationship is different. Personalities within relationships are different, and businesses are different, right? And so any combination of these things can come together in a litany of different ways. Mm-hmm. But there's no excuse for blatantly just taking advantage of one aspect or another, right? it's one thing to be like, hey, I can make this work, or we agree on we're going to pursue this, and it might be it's acceptable risk, right?
Right.
Like it's a managed risk. But
ooh, that's good.
yeah, right. It doesn't always work out like we're talking about, but oftentimes it does.
But I mean, having that conversation and saying, you know, with your spouse or significant other and saying, okay, what is acceptable risk?
To what level are you willing to take this?
Yeah. And that can be, you know, risking, you know, your financial situation. But honestly, the financial situation, who cares? It's money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people do, right?
Well,
but
and it's, I mean, unless you're 65, 70, and you're throwing away your entire retirement, you can start up again. You know?
yeah, you can replace money, but you can't replace time.
Yeah.
You know, when your kids are grown up, like
Yeah.
you don't get to go back and be like,
And
hey,
you can't change experiences or emotions or feelings,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so, you know, what are the risks that you're willing to take? Not the financial risk, but those emotional risks, those experiential risks, you know, the time risks. What are you willing to risk? And I've seen people, they get so enamored by this idea of entrepreneurship that they're just like, oh, you know, I want to own my own business. I want to be my own boss. And I see them jump into these crap businesses. And I'm sorry.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I mean, I'm coming off harsh right now, but really think about what is it that you want to be doing? Do you really want to be running a 24/7 convenience store and you're the person at the front counter? It's like,
While ignoring your wife and kids.
yeah, hire a college kid to come and work that convenience store.
Yeah.
You don't need to be but they're so just enamored by, oh yeah, that's my business. I'm like, guess what? People really aren't that proud of your business because it, you know, like it's as big of a disaster as your life is. Sorry, buddy. Just going to call it like it is.
Dang.
Oh, man.
That was harsh.
I know. Ouch.
That's
So-
the attitude that comes from years and years of business consulting.
It was a solid decade of
Yeah.
of business consulting, and I saw a lot of people that they were sinking a life into a sunk ship.
Oh yeah, something that from an outside perspective you look at and you're like, that is not worth it, man.
Yeah,
But I don't know. But I don't know. That's hard to say because it's like what's worth it to you might not be worth it to somebody else.
but here's the thing: it's a question of how proud are you of your business, and what elements of it make you proud.
Sure.
And that was one thing that there were a lot of entrepreneurs that missed that boat. Like they did not understand that, you know, at the end of the day, you needed to have respect with what you did. Because there were a couple businesses. I mean, I met with this one guy. I met with him one time and it was pretty harsh. So he comes in and he wanted to do an adult novelty shop. And so we're going through and we're talking about it. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm working with you right now.
Right.
And as he's talking, it comes out and he's like, what if I do like a smoke shop? And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And he says to me, he's like, I don't care. I just want the money. And like this guy was purposefully digging in every, you know, just sewer that he could.
Because he's like, I don't have standards. I don't care. It's just got to be lucrative.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, and honestly, there are people who like to them, that's part of the entertainment industry and they're proud of it. And they're just like, look, I want people's relationship to be happier. And so I'm going to, you know, sell novelty items so that they can have a more fulfilled relationship. That I have respect for. But when a guy's just sitting there and he's like, I don't care. I'm just trying to make money off of this.
Right.
And, you know, I couldn't work with him after that. I'm like, hey, you know, I referred him out to some other sources. I'm like, here, try these things. But, you know, have some passion in your business, have some respect for what you do.
Yeah.
And
So that totally reminds me, this is random and probably not relevant, but it reminds me of the movie Inception. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have, yeah.
Came out in like, I don't know,
First half was amazing.
2010?
Something like that, yeah.
First half was amazing?
I hated the second half of that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, I love that movie.
Okay.
It's a good one. There were moments of it that were super philosophical, and I loved that. There's a line in there, and I'm going to try really hard not to slaughter it, but it's right at the end of the movie, and he talks about, are you an old man filled with regret waiting to die alone? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think that's kind of what we're ultimately trying to get at, right? Is like, before you even set out on this venture, you have to consider the possibilities of where this might take you, especially if you have a spouse or a significant other and children involved. And it's like, what are you willing to sacrifice? What's the risk here? Are you willing to throw away all your morals and values for a dollar or a dime? Are you willing to throw away all that time with your wife and kids for a successful business? You know, what does that mean to you? And everybody gets to answer those questions on their own, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to look at the possibilities of where that might lead you. If you dedicate all your time and patience and energy and resources into this business, and then all of a sudden, 20, 30 years down the road, you look back and you're like, whoa, not worth what the trade-off was.
Right.
That's something you've got to consider up front.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, so my oldest, he's 15 right now.
Okay.
And so, he's into those teenage years, and I look at his priorities. And as a parent, and you look at a teenager and you're just like, oh, can't you see that this is not the choice that you want to make?
Yeah.
But they can't, because they haven't gained that experience. And the same thing with entrepreneurs is, when you look at the relationships that you have as an entrepreneur, and it's like, oh, can't you see that you're giving up an amazing relationship for a business that's really not going to take you where you want to go?
Yeah.
And they can't, because they don't have that experience. And so I guess one of the things that I want to throw out there is I want to, ask our listeners as you're listening to this and just say, okay, why are you doing your business? And have you lost track of what you're really going after because you've been caught up in the day-to-day of the business? And this happens to all of us. But it's a question of, how far off track and how quickly can we get back on track? Because, there are times where we're doing it for the wrong reasons. We might have started doing it for the right reasons, but we're going to get off track. We're going to start doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's like, no, pull yourself back in. If you set out to really make your community a better place, then stick with that. Make your community a better place. Don't treat your employees like crap to try and make more money so that you can give it out to the community and get all this praise and recognition, but you're really not helping the people that work for you. Like that's losing track of what you're all about.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one that, I know people that they give out tens of thousands of dollars, but they won't pay fair wages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guess what? Cut back, make the soccer team do a fundraiser on their own so that they have to buy their own jerseys, and take that money and, pay your employees what they're worth. Take care of your employees first. They're the ones making it happen.
Yeah.
And this is an episode where I get to vent all of the frustrations that I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I think it's been awesome. The key takeaway here is take a beat, take a good hard look in the mirror, and kind of come back to your roots if you've strayed from that, right? Take a look at why you're doing what you're doing, and make sure that whatever risk is involved, you're managing that risk, and the direction that you're headed is clear, and that you are on the path that you want to be on. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is, it's going to look super different for anybody that dives into this, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully you were able to enjoy our ramblings as two old men waiting to die alone.
You're not old. That's the second episode where you're just like, I'm so old.
Dude, I have so much gray hair.
Yeah. Both of them.
Growing out of weird places. Ears
my enough
nose,
said.
Getting long eyebrows, weird stuff like that.
Time to end the episode.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time. Take control of your business today. Go to learndesk.us and search Marketing Management and Money for the small business insights you've always wanted. Be sure to stay tuned for new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and make sure to subscribe to be notified when we release bonus content such as interviews and short discussions.